welcome to the next instalment of the work that I'm doing on this Panasonic / National VCR. So I've managed to source a belt kit, new old stock. Koenig part number is 752010, so hopefully this will actually work and resolve the problems that we had, which was to do with the machine lacing up. So we've got to strip down the machine again, and I think the first thing we're going to do is to take off this top cassette cover, like so. And we should be able to get that out of the way. Takes a little bit of a fiddle, but that should come out of the way like so. We use that to hold our screws. If you remember from last time, we've got a couple on the back. And there we go. And off with the lid. I've actually noticed this lid is quite dirty, so I'm going to take that and give it a bit of a clean, so we'll do that in a minute. Next thing we want to do is looking at this and looking where the top layer belts are. We're going to have to remove the cradle. If you remember from last time, it's the red screws, which are the ones that you removed to move something out of the way. The gold ones seem to make up the actual structure of whatever you're removing, whereas these red ones hold it to the chassis of the machine itself. So let's get those out of the way. Apart from me moving these out of the way last time, I don't think they've ever actually been touched in the life of this machine, and that's nearly 40 years. So those are coming out quite nicely. And with a little bit of persuasion, hoping that we can move this out of the way. We may need to, that's it, there you go, that's got to release from there. And if I remember rightly, I've got to bring the cradle up to release the tension on the little damper unit. And then this comes out and out like so. Now then, we're confronted, and I'll bring the camera in so we can see this in more detail. We're immediately confronted with two belts. So, see if we can get in a bit closer. There we go. So we have belt 1 here, and belt 2 is here. So first off, let's remove belt 1. Belt 1, actually there's 3 belts. Belt 1, 2 and 3. So belt 1 here drives the counter on the front of the machine. And it looks like we may need to remove this front panel. Again, the front panel is held in with, looks like 3 of these red screws. Now these ones I'll put up the far end of my tray because they are different to the red screws that hold in the tape cradle. They've got a sort of a top built-in, almost sort of like a built-in washer thing. I think there is a specific name for those, but I can't remember what it is. So I don't want to get those mixed up. The ones which hold the cradle in have got a separate washer. So that should hopefully, oh, there's a couple around the side. So we got, if we can see it, yep, one there, and there's one in a similar place around the other side. So we'll get those out of the way. Just trying to see how this works. There we go. And one around the other side. And hopefully, there we go, that is our front cover out of the way. So we'll put that over out of the way. In fact, it's quite cool to actually see inside this. So you have obviously the LEDs over that side for moist camera, NTSC, C-cam and PAL. Obviously got our touch sensitive control buttons. We've got the up down buttons here, which I'm not going to remove that, but there are some more touch sensitive buttons under there. We've got the switch on the front here, and we've got these mechanical selectors for the power switch. We've got these here for the channel selectors. What I will do actually is in a minute, once I've replaced these belts, I will get something just to give these a little bit of a clean up. So as you can see here, we've got the timer unit, well not the timer unit, the counter unit, and there is a belt which goes onto the underside of the unit here. It's a tiny little belt. What I think I might do is see if I can remove this front panel. This actually differs because it's held in with 2 gold screws. So the reason why I want to do this is to see if I can get that little glass perspex plate back into place. So we're going to move this out of the way. And there we've got the timer. Sorry, the counter. I keep saying timer for some reason. And as you can see, that is our little plate, and it used to be stuck onto there. So what I'm going to do is go and fetch the hot glue gun, and we are going to hot glue that little thing back into place. So we will need to clean it up a bit, but we can do that in a second. So, right, we'll leave those belts for the second, and we'll go and fetch something to clean all of this up. Right, we've got the glue gun on standby. What we are going to do is to just clean up a couple of bits inside of here which are a bit grubby. First one is this. So I want to try and get this as clean as possible. I won't be able to remove all the old glue unless I use something more abrasive. But I'm tempted to leave the old glue there because it is well stuck down, and it would provide a good key for the hot glue. So see if we can clean as much off of there as possible. Not perfect, but it will do. Okay, so we'll put those out the way to dry for a second. And what we will do is just attack little nooks and crannies here. Just to wipe this down. Just generally clean it up a bit. There we go, bit of a general clean up and around. Just makes it a little bit neater. The way round there. These little felt things are quite good because they not only protect the switch, but they protect the front cover as well. So they protect sort of it from wearing. I think they're mainly there to keep dust out of the switch and sort of dust and grease, etc. So they do serve quite a valid purpose. So see what I'm doing. I'm actually just cleaning this front panel up a bit. Right, now what I want to do is just very quickly just dry off where I've been wiping it down with the wipe. There we go. Give this a wipe down, like so. And give this a wipe down. Okay, next thing is the hot glue. So we are going to apply, sure that's on, yes it is. Always takes a little while for this to start working, just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. Right, we'll leave that to warm up for a second. So I left it for a couple more minutes, and we now have something that is producing nice hot glue. So we'll just put a little bead of it across each point, put that to one side and unplug it. Take our little Perspex panel and place the panel into a little aperture. As you can see, there's a little bit fiddly because it is a tight space to work with. But eventually you do get it might be easy to do it from this side. You do get, hopefully, there. And just hold that in place. Push it down on it to get the glue to spread and hold this in place. So what I'm going to do is put that to one side and leave that set. The next job is to replace these top side belts. So we're going to do that in this video, and in the next video we're going to be doing the belts on the underside of the machine. So let's pop off this tiny little belt on the counter, and that comes out like so. So we've got this tiny little belt here. That one is from the counter to a little idler spindle. This one here is from the take-up spool to said idler spindle, and we have another one which is a thicker square belt which goes around a motor. And I'm not sure if you can see this, I'll just move the camera closer, around this pulley here. So we need to go under this brake mechanism, which if we can move that out of the way like so, we can tease that larger square belt out. This one will be a pig to get back in, there's no doubt about that. And that's out the way. So we've got our 3 belts there. What we need to do is open up the pack and find a set of belts, a trio of belts which roughly match the sizes of those ones. Immediately we have this one here, so we'll substitute old for new. Got the little baby one here. Again, actually, hang on. Substitute that one out the way, and we got our slightly thicker square belt, which will be this one. You can actually feel that's really dry, whereas this one is nice and pliant. and we'll move that out of the way. So I'm going to put this one in first. So we go around the, let's see if we can get the camera even closer on the action. We're going to go around the motor spindle in the centre here. So go down, move the idler. Actually no, the idler doesn't move that much, so we'll have to go in like so, and probably hook into there. Now I need to move this brake mechanism out of the way, so we're going to come underneath the brake mechanism and around this pulley here. Now here's the fun part, because we need to keep this tensioned. We need to move this again, and with a flick of a finger get it off of the take-up spool and underneath. There's probably an easier way to do this, which would involve removing the spool. However, believe it or not, that has worked. So just spin it a bit to maintain or get the shape back for it. And you're done. Next one is the long belt, which goes from the take-up spool here. There's a ridged bit on the take-up spool down to the intermediate idler, which you can't see, but you go onto the lower part of the idler down here. That's a bit of a pain to get that one on, so we'll just knock that around here like so. That's in place, and a little tweak at this end to get this one around. That is tricky. Oh, hang on. There we go. And around. Might use the little finger to do this. Little finger around said pulley, and that's easier said than done. Need something pokey to put in there. Very small screwdriver would do it. Annoyingly, I've left those in my toolbox. Also, something like a match would do it as well. What you can also do possibly is stretch that out. And hook it over like that. Rotate it to get the shape of the belt back, and you're in. The next one is the tiny little belt over the counter unit. So that goes over the pulley for the counter, through the machine, and onto the top of that idler pulley inside the machine. So you can tell if this works because if we pan back out, the brake counter moves nicely. Right, so if we come back out again, waiting in the wings is our now hopefully dry. Yeah, that worked well. That worked really well. As in, that didn't work very well. Let's try that again. So, I've refitted the Perspex cover and the little bezel over the counter itself. I've put the front panel back on. If you remember, you had 2 red screws on the side and you've got the 3 on the top, and the panel just fits literally just forward onto the machine like that. The next thing that we're going to do is to take our tape cradle and put that back into the unit itself. And if you remember, you've got this little thing here, which if I come closer, and we pan down, locks into this assembly here, because this assembly goes up to a little sort of, I think there's a coiled spring up here, which dampens the mechanism on this. So instead of going plomp like that, it comes up gracefully. It's a nice bit of design actually. Over-engineered, but as I've said before, never a bad thing. So, well, most cases it's never a bad thing. So if we come in this side as we did last time, and we slot down into there, you can see that we're in ready to go. So grab the small screw with the washer, and we'll start with this front one here. So we need to bring that back a tad. So I don't want to get these fully screwed down. What I want to do is just get them nipped up slightly so that I can move the cradle about, get the cradle into its final position. Once it's in its final position, I can then tighten everything up fully. This one is a bit of a pain because of the way it's positioned. We need to be careful with it. Try and get it into place. Might use a different bit on the screwdriver. Alright, that is going in. So we've actually got that. That is slightly too far forward, I think. And about there should do it. So, right, rejoin me once I've got this in place. And there we go, refitted. The trick is to put a screw in this side and a screw up here as well, keeping the cradle down because it does actually lock everything into position, which is quite handy. Make sure it goes up and down okay. Make sure that it's not knocking onto anything, which annoyingly mine seems to be doing. So what's going on here? Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. It's because I manually released this. It doesn't like to be manually released. So if I go back with that, yeah. That'll lock back into position once the machine goes on. Double check that theory, actually. Oh, it won't. Okay. I wonder what I've done there. Be right back. What you actually need to do is you press the eject button and that resets the mechanism. That comes back down, locks back into place. Nothing major. You can actually see what it does. So if you look at that white or off-white thing there, pulls it back, cradle comes up. Push it down, see the little white roller makes contact with it, flips it back into position. If you manually flick it out the way, because you haven't pressed the eject mechanism to pull it and keep it out the way, like that, it doesn't have the opportunity to lock back in. So there we go, another mystery solved. So next episode we're going to go underneath and we are going to sort out the belts on the underside. If you have found this video interesting, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more upcoming fascinating hobbies. Don't forget to hit the notification bell and do everything else that all the other YouTubers tell you to do. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. And again, another smooth pan out.